Welcome back to your weekly dose of encouragement on the Unashamedly You podcast. If you are enjoying the Mother's Day sessions that we have been doing, we would love for you to go and leave us a review over on Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube. These reviews help people to find our podcast and to be encouraged too. Also, make sure that you share this with your friends and your family. We love when someone lets us know they are listening to our podcast because a friend told them about it. Hello, and welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast, a space to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to go out and unashamedly be who God is calling you to be. I am your host, Jamie Herndon. I pray you hear less of me and more of Him as you listen to today's episode. Let's grow together. What a special treat. Today I have something a little bit different. I have a friend in person here with me. Several of you have messaged and you've been asking to hear from women-owned businesses, a working mom, moms going after things. And so I finally got my friend, who I would say is one of the biggest go-getters I know, to come and to be on the podcast with me. I've watched her build several businesses. From the time we were growing up, I feel like that she always owned something, was always doing something. And she has been successful at everything she's put her hands to, because I've also had a front row seat of watching how hard she works, her work ethic, and the trust and the faith that she has had to put in God. She and her husband both now, and they are killing it in this business world. And I'm just so excited they're able to give to the kingdom, and we're going to get to talk about that today. But Hannah Riley, welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast. What a treat and an honor. Like I said, she owns a business. I know she is constantly busy, and I've had to twist her arm to come on, and I'm just grateful that she did. So Hannah, welcome to the podcast. Take a second, introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I will say my heart dropped just a little when you reached out for the second time, knowing that I couldn't put you off again. But I'm so happy to finally be here. My name is Hannah Riley. I'm married to Josh Riley. We'll be celebrating 18 years of marriage this September. We live on a farm with our 4 amazing children: Ireland, who is 10, Joshua, who is 8, Noelle, who is 4, and Isla, who is 2. Together, we do own a wedding venue called The Stables at Cherokee Creek, and it is located in central Arkansas in a little college town called Conway. I was born in Louisiana, but we moved to Arkansas when I was 4, so anytime that I say I'm from Louisiana, Josh will usually roll his eyes. A couple of my favorite things would be iced matcha, hot coffee, workout, thrift shopping, and this one might give my age away, but I love to go to bed by 9 and get up super early. I really cherish my quiet mornings where I can just sit, drink my coffee, and listen to my Bible. I am a major homebody, but I also love being outside in the sunshine and spending time with my family, whether that's working in the garden, fishing, traveling, or just being in the kitchen while Josh cooks. I'd love to say I enjoy cooking, but we both know that he's the better chef.
Just one more thing that we have in common.
Yes.
And our husbands are best friends. Josh was actually Matt's best man, so they have that in common as well. So it helps us out. So you mentioned the Stables, which tell us a little bit more about that. It is a wedding venue in Conway, you guys, and they love to say they live on a farm. They're just farm people, and they have this horse stable venue. I'm telling you, if you don't follow them, go follow them on Instagram, The Stables. It is absolutely incredible. It is one of the most beautiful venues. What she considers farmhouse is a dream home, literally located in central Arkansas. So don't let her fool you with all the things that she says about just being on a farm. It's not your exact farm idea, or not what I consider farm. But it is out on some acreage. They own a lot of land, and they have this incredible wedding venue, The Stables. Tell us a little bit about The Stables, and maybe the story of how The Stables, it went from a dream to your reality.
So I'll probably have to start at the very beginning for it to all make sense. In August of 2018, my husband found a piece of property that we did end up buying with dreams of building our forever home on it. At that time, we had a home in the city that we knew that we needed to sell before we could start any kind of building project. We had completely remodeled it and felt confident that someone would snatch it right up. But after 2 years of being on the market with no serious buyers, we decided in July of 2020 to go ahead and build a barn on the new property. This was right in the middle of COVID. Fast forward 2 months, by September, the real estate market had flipped. A buyer came forward, which was amazing, but they needed us out in 12 days. I can still remember the day that Josh pulled up with the camper attached to his truck. We were going from living in a 7,200 square foot home to a 240 square foot travel trailer. At that point, the barn had already been framed, but we quickly decided to add a subfloor to one end so that we could live in it temporarily until we built our house. Around that same time, we had attended a wedding, and Josh ended up talking with the husband of the couple who owned that venue. Josh was showing him pictures of the barn, and that guy started trying to convince him to turn it into a venue instead. Josh came home. We stayed up late most of the night, talking, dreaming, sketching out a blueprint. And you wouldn't guess, but it was on the back of an IRS paper of all things. We didn't have time to sit on the idea. Our builders were right in the middle of construction and needing direction immediately. One minute we had been planning a living quarters, and the next we were designing bridal and groom suites. I can remember thinking, is this all really happening? I immediately started taking online master courses for venue owners, trying to learn everything I possibly could. Up until that point, I had only hosted a few birthday parties. I truly didn't even have a clue what I was doing. When the added subfloor was completed, we ended up with a groom suite, a bridal suite, a honeymoon suite, and below that we had added sheetrock to create guest restrooms, a caterer's kitchen, a laundry room, and an office. We had heard the saying, if you build it, they will come. But we knew that wasn't entirely true and that our work had really just begun. Still, we felt like God had been opening and closing all the right doors. We trusted that if He had brought us this far, He would continue to bless it. We hosted our first birthday party in October of 2021 and our first wedding in December of that same year.
It's crazy how much me or my family is entwined in the story. So, like, I remember
It was Janet's wedding.
But I remember telling you that night at church, God spoke to me and said, if you'll shout for your house, it's selling. But 2 months later, it was like a week later.
Jamie, when I've been planning all this and writing it, I told myself I wasn't getting emotional, but it's like a full circle. I've never stepped back and actually looked at it and put all the little puzzle pieces together. But it literally, like, even from when I was cleaning houses, I never knew that I would need that technique or that job skill.
Yeah, I had said that. Your house sold. You mentioned to me that y'all would want to do a stables. I was thinking about wanting to do Unashamedly You, and I was telling you about my dream. You were telling me about yours, and we were like dreaming together about it. Then it was Janet's wedding that Josh was talking, and it's just like so neat how like literally front row seat to all these big things that have happened. So I remember you shouted like, you were like, it was, you knew it was
had
God.
to have it sold.
It was like the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
And right after that, I remember you walking into Santo saying, we've got a buyer on this house. And it'd been like a week. I remember just being floored at the timing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, God, I knew that was you, but like He literally showed it was Him.
It was a God moment for sure.
That is wild. So this is the month of May, and we do focus on moms this month, which is one reason that I wanted to bring you on, because when did you realize the importance of chasing your dreams? But they're not just your dreams. It's not just for you. It's not just for your husband, but it's also for your children to see, for them to be able to see the work that was put into it, the effort, and going after those things.
So honestly, I didn't have a John Brown clue what I was doing. This wasn't a dream of mine, actually. It was just what was kind of in front of us at the time. We had been building a barn, and somehow along the way it had turned into something more. I didn't have time to even dream up the dream. I just knew that I didn't want to fail. And that's where the shift happened. It stopped being about feeling ready and started being about trusting God enough to take that next step. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established." We just kept committing each step as we went. But as a mom, I started noticing my kids were watching all of it. They were watching me figure it out, show up tired, but keep going even when it was hard and uncertain. That's kind of when it hit me. This wasn't just about building a business. It was about building an example. Because our kids don't just hear us, they watch us. I wanted them to see that obedience mattered more than comfort, and that faith doesn't always look like a perfect plan. It looks like showing up. Looking back, chasing a dream isn't really about the dream. It's about showing your kids what faith in action looks like.
You know, that's so true because a lot of times we're going through something and we think we're going through it. As much as moms and as parents, you want to try to hide things from your kids, right? You want to try to hide the worry. You want to try to hide the sleepless nights or the hard times. But your kids pick up on things way more than you think they do, especially the oldest. You know, Ada can always pick up on different things with us. And I know Ireland is the same way. And anyone that's listening to this, especially that oldest child, I was the oldest child, and you just notice. And I don't know if it's because you're older or it's just something that God puts in them, but you just notice things. And they not only see the sleepless nights and they see the things that you're worried about, but they also get to see God come through, which is the best part.
It is.
You know, I often tell Ada, I'm like, you're getting to see this from a front row seat. When God does it, you're going to be able to see that he did it.
Yeah.
I always make sure that my kids know, like, hey, we were praying for this. We were needing God to do this. We were wanting him to come through, and he did. And we're going to praise him because he did. And so I love that you mentioned that, you know, your children were not just seeing all the things that you were doing, but they were seeing the faith that comes in behind building something, because it's not easy.
No.
And then talking about just showing up. There's so much to that. It is so much easier to say, I want to XYZ than it is to go out and get the shovel and put it in the dirt and keep going whenever really you're wanting to quit. Yeah. So how did you balance being a present as a mom while still pursuing your personal goals? I know this is something all of us as moms struggle with. We want to be present, mom. We've also got these things that are going on. There's still real life, okay? I feel like social media tries to make it look like there's not real life. There's these amazing influencers that are out there, and they're making it look like that they're doing all these millions of things while also being present. And to be honest with you, it's fake. It's 100% fake. Anybody that's in the grind sees that it is. Tell people all the time, if you're showing up consistently on social media, that is a full-time job. I've done that before.
Absolutely.
And it's a full-time job. And kudos to the people that are doing it, but it's easy for us as moms on the other side of things, seeing this and then feeling guilty, like, well, they're able to do it all. And they still have all this time left over, but they're not being real. So then when we're in the trenches, it's easy to feel some mom guilt, okay? Like, it's a real deal. So how do you balance that? Being present, but you're still pursuing these personal goals and going after things, which is important.
So I don't feel like I'm great at this one. I am constantly working at it, but I have found that being on my knees is where I find all my answers. I've learned that balance isn't always perfect, and that's okay. This was especially hard for me because I like my house to look like no one lives in it. But we're all a family of 6, and we most definitely live in it. Starting a business is extremely exhausting, especially while being a mom. But I had to learn how to implement boundaries, and I didn't learn how to implement those boundaries until probably 2 to 3 years in. It was very, very rough in the beginning. I was so eager to book couples in the beginning that I was constantly on my phone at all hours, just trying to schedule the next tour, hopefully fill a spot on our calendar. And at that same time, I was pulling all-nighters, making sure that the laundry and dishes were done, house was spotless. I would end up catching up on sleep during some of the most important moments that I can't get back now. My kids' assemblies, my field trips, family dinners, friends' birthdays, but most importantly, church. I had the mindset that I could just listen online and be fine, but I had to get that bird's eye view that Matt talks about and realign my priorities. Yes, God had allowed us to build this dream, but my greatest responsibility was making sure my babies were saved. I often think about Proverbs 31:27. She looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. This verse isn't about perfection. It's about faithfulness. It's about showing up, putting your hands to work, and caring for what God has trusted you with. And I have to remind myself all the time, God didn't call me to choose between being a mother or walking in purpose. He trusted me with both.
He did. And, that's a lot to put on us, it feels like, where you're being a mom and you're walking in purpose and you're doing things. And, not every ministry is the same, which is the whole point of Unashamedly You, being who God has called you to be unashamedly. And for so long, I looked at ministry as one thing. And then you start reading up on it and you start looking into it, and ministry is so much more. Business owners have a ministry, and it's a ministry for the church. It's not just a ministry for us. And realizing that our kingdom work may not be up on a platform, but our kingdom work is being able to be good stewards with what God has given us, to be able to pursue things, to go after things, to have faith in God that He's going to come through, and then also still showing Him that we're faithful. We're faithful in all things that matter. Faithful to Him, faithful to church, faithful to rearing our children the best that we know how, faithful to modeling that, and also faithful to walk in our purpose and to be able to do something, to be able to give to the kingdom. That's a ministry. Giving is a ministry. And I remember, I'll never forget the time that Brother Shoemake preached a message at our church. Matt and I left, and he preached on the fivefold ministries of the church, and he preached that giving was a ministry. And Matt and I left that service, and we're like, we didn't even realize that God was calling us to a ministry for the church. But we have a giving on us in a way that can't be shaken.
Yes.
It's like a God-given burden, a heavy burden,
Yes.
a burden that we pray over constantly to be able to give more to the church and to give more to the kingdom of God, and not for ourselves, but for the kingdom.
Yes.
And it's a heavy burden that we carry, we do without to be able to give more. And it's something that God has placed on us. And it's like, that is a burden, and that's a ministry that's for the church. But we also can't allow that burden and that ministry to overtake the things that God has entrusted us with. And so, like you said, getting that bird's eye view, Matt talks about that, and being able to say, like, I've got to do it. I've got to do it all. But when we put Him first, you mentioned earlier, I do it on my knees.
Yeah.
Like, when I don't have time for it all, if I could ever make time to pray every other part of my day, it's like I have extra time.
Yes, it's insane.
It's the exact same concept as tithing. Every time we give to God, and even when we give extra and we give more, or we give till it hurts, it's like then stuff starts coming out. We have more money. It's amazing how God works.
It's like we know this. Why are we not doing it every single week? But
exactly.
No, every time I catch up on my tithes, the next week I get calls out of the wood, like right and left, emails. Everybody wants to come tour. They don't even know. I've not met them. I don't know how they found us, but it's that double blessings that He gives us.
And then He does the same thing with our time. It's like in a day, if I carve out that hour to give to God, I have so much more free time, or time to get things done that I didn't think I would have done throughout the day. But then whenever I think, oh, I'm going to pray, I'm going to bank prayer like the last thing today, because I don't really have time to stop and to do that right now. And then I'm just running around in circles all day long.
All day.
So like, it's that first fruits.
Yes.
That He's asking of us. And it's like, He doesn't give us a set time. He doesn't tell us, like, you have to give me, you have to give me an hour of your day. But it's like our bishop says, if you can just walk in and do that 3-0,
Yes.
Set that timer for 30 minutes. We waste way more than 30 minutes throughout our day.
Absolutely.
But giving it to God, and then He makes up the difference. Every time. He always does. What are some ways that you intentionally model hard work to your children? So this is one that's huge to me. I see so many, what I consider young people, they're going out into the world, And hard work is just a skill that seems to be gone. Maybe am I the crazy one? I have some friends, their daughter's looking for, she's looking for the man of her dreams right now. And there's this guy, and they were asking me about him. They're like, I don't know a lot about him. They'll always ask me, they're like, do you know anything about this guy? And I said, well, he's got a job and a good work ethic. Let's start there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't say that about too many of them right now. The work ethic, where's it at? We need to be modeling this for our children.
Yes, we have the hardest time finding people that can work and actually work, because normally the ones who want to work are too old to work. Because the younger ones cannot. They don't have the work ethic. It's really
They don't. And this is
sad.
important. And you and your husband are some of the hardest workers I've ever met. Like you said at the beginning, it was hard to find that balance.
Yes.
Because you naturally are a hard worker, but you watched your mom. You had a good model.
I did.
And that worked really hard. And you and your sister both, you worked really hard growing up. I mean, so you can talk about that, but some ways that you intentionally model hard work to your children, and maybe talk about your mom and some things that she did to put that in you.
Well, we had a split home growing up, and so my mom had to work for everything that we had, which was not much, but she did everything she could. And I can remember at 14 going and cleaning houses with her, and that's kind of how I found the love of cleaning. I love to clean. Jessica loves to cook, and so we kind of made the household work together. But I would go with her from 14 on, I think, until I started college. I would clean houses with her throughout the week, in the evenings, weekends. It was good money. And I've mentioned that to several kids today. And I'm like, why are you not cleaning houses? Like, I was banking back then. I was bringing home $300-$400 a day. And I just don't see it. It's hard work, though. And that's the deal. They just don't have the desire, I guess. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet are the 2 years that we lived in the venue while hosting events. I don't like to talk about that time, because looking back now, I truly do believe that I had a mental breakdown. I lost all of my marbles. I was dealing with postpartum. I had 2 babies under 2, and I was not attending church regularly due to all the chaos and the exhaustion. We didn't start hiring until our 2nd year, so we had to do everything ourselves. During the week, it was like our home was listed for sale. The venue had to be tour ready at all times. And think about that with 2 toddlers. There was junk everywhere. So I was like shoving it in the dryer, shoving it in my trunk, shoving it in a closet, and I just couldn't keep up. And then once the tour was over, I'd bring it all back out, and then we'd do it again the next day. We would move out on Thursdays to host events, and then usually go to my sister's house, one of our parents' homes, even a hotel. And then we'd move back in on Mondays. So it was basically like we were living out of Walmart sacks, really. Like it was total chaos, if you can imagine. And during that time, I relied on Ireland more than I like to admit. But I felt like she was old enough to understand that we were building this dream together, that I could not do it without her. And she truly loved every bit of it. She loved helping with the babies. She loved being involved. And so she was a godsend for sure. When we tell our kids everything you want is on the other side of hard. Nothing comes easy. They've seen that in order to host an event, we have to pull the weeds. The baseboards have to be wiped, bathrooms clean, tables and chairs set. They've willingly helped with all of these tasks, and they're learning that success doesn't come from shortcuts. It comes from consistency. I want them to understand that hard work is honorable and that God blesses faithfulness.
He does. He blesses faithfulness in all things. And whenever you're faithful to God, He will be faithful to you. Matt says this so often. I've done my part. Now it's time for God to do His. He's like, if I'm faithful to Him, He said He was going to be faithful to me. He said He was going to come through, and, I've done mine. It's time for Him to show up, and I can count on Him.
Yep.
And we can. I have watched Ireland. That is her oldest daughter, and she is already such a hard worker. Oh, my goodness. She could outwork any teen right now for sure. She's 10 years old. She's a hard worker. Joshua's a hard worker.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
He's that boy.
He likes to go and do the things he wants to do, though.
Yes.
He's a hard worker at those things. He's still getting there. But we often say Ireland could run a business already. I mean, she already about does.
She's got the leadership skills that are sometimes good, sometimes not so good. But no, she's amazing. I truly could not do it without her. She's been the biggest help, my right hand. And yeah, she'll be running the venue in about 5 years.
Yeah, I give her less time than that if y'all let go of the reins some. She runs the pickup line at school. Anybody that's listening to this can hear it. I'm like, if you got Mario on the front end and Ireland telling those kids where to go, it's like we go through that line so much faster. But it is something that is a lost art. And honestly, it's something that's important. And I've watched you guys, like you said, you're building the dream together. And I think that that's something to be proud of. That you're building something that it's not just for you. It's not just your husband. It's not just, one of your business. It's not just y'all as a couple's business, but it's a family-owned business.
It is.
And I love that. That's so important. We all know there has, but tell us about some moments when maybe you wanted to give up on your dream, and then what kept you going?
So during our entire build, I mentioned COVID earlier, but it was wreaking havoc on the wedding industry. One moment I can clearly remember, we had made a huge purchase on all of our tables and chairs from China. And a week later, we started getting the emails that they were going to be charging astronomical shipping fees for containers at sea. I'm talking like an additional $15,000. I remember calling Josh, crying, asking what we were going to do, and he said, we're going to pay it. Like it didn't even faze him. When it was all said and done, we could have saved so much money by purchasing everything in the U.S., but we just didn't know at the time. During that same time, all I was hearing about were weddings being postponed, which was leading to the closure of every venue around us. We were only halfway done with our building. We couldn't get the supplies that were on back order for months. Lumber had quadrupled in price. I couldn't fathom sinking any more money into a building project that looked like it may not work at all. But God. Little did I know that the very thing that caused me so much fear and pushed our project way beyond the budget we had planned would be the very thing that launched our little venue in 2022. All of those couples who had to postpone because of COVID were now searching for a venue and ready to get married.
And thinking about that you were in the building phase when everyone else was shutting down.
It was so scary.
But it was, what a God moment.
It
what
was
a God
definitely
timing.
a God moment. Yeah. It was him showing himself even more real to us that he was going to bring us through. I can't think of any little moments right now as far as just eye-opening, but just the whole, like every day he was just showing himself. Like it was the windows that we were trying to order for the building were on back order for months. And we had, at the time, I think we had a birthday party that had booked. And then we had a wedding that December, and it didn't even look like we were going to be able to be done with the building because of all the back orders. But we would get emails out of the blue that would state that somehow our windows were on the way. They were headed there, and it should have been 2 months later that they were being delivered.
Brother Booker preaches that message, his love is in the details. And whenever we go through things in our lives like this, you can really see his love really is in the details. He shows his love in ways when we're scared, when we don't know what's happening, when we think things are failing. His love is in the details. He has it all planned out if we'll trust him.
Yes.
And that's one reason why I wanted you to be on today, is because this is a big project. This is something that, they run a very successful wedding venue. And just to show people a little bit about your wedding venue and kind of the things that it does, how many weddings did you start off with? And then let us know about kind of what you guys are doing right now.
So we had the first wedding in 2021. In 2022, I believe we did either 24 or 25 weddings, which blew my socks off. Like, I thought that was phenomenal. And the next year we wanted to do, I want to say it was 40, and we exceeded that. And so the next year I set a cap at 60. I wanted to do 60 events. And Josh was like, well, why are you stopping there? But I was like, we take off January and February. It's engagement season, so we're not really off. We are hosting wedding shows and doing tours right and left. And then in July and August, we take off to spend the summer with our kids. because spring and fall are slammed as far as just being involved and takes a lot of our time. But we try to cap at 65 events per year, and that's 4 months off the calendar. So we are hosting anywhere from 3 to 4 events every weekend.
That is so wild.
It's definitely God. It has nothing to do with Josh or I, other than the hard work that we've put in and the trust that we've put in him. But it is all God.
And I wanted to mention that as well when you were talking about balancing. There's a lot of hard work involved. You're doing 3 to 4 events every single weekend, but 4 months out of the year you take completely off, which, like you said, January, February, it is engagement season. So people are wanting to come by and see, but you're not booked solid every single weekend, January and February. You have that time with your kids.
Yes.
And then I love that you guys take July and August. You've always taken that off. And y'all are traveling, you're going, you're doing things all summer long for your kids. So they still have their summer with you, and you're not just constantly working on the death all summer long. That's a good part of balance as well. You know, there's a lot of hard work involved. There's a lot of weekends that you are there. And then there's a balance and there's a trade-off to that, because there's a lot of days that you get to spend with just them all summer long.
Yes. We tell them we work hard, we play hard.
And I think it's important for kids to see both.
Yes.
And that's not always easy to do in the beginning, but as time goes on, that gets easier.
It does. Yes. So early on, Josh and I did everything. Even while we lived in the venue, I can remember us trying to sleep upstairs, and there was a little room off from the bathroom that we were able to lock, and we would all pile in there and sleep at night. Because our events last until midnight, cleanup crew arrives between 12 and 1, and then they're there until 3 or 4. Well, I'm not a night owl. I've already mentioned that. Josh may stay up later than I do, but we all tend to try to get in bed a little decent time. And so we would sneak upstairs through the caterer's entrance and sneak into that bedroom, and we would try to sleep. We would put a box fan on, but you could still hear the DJ downstairs, the music going dum, 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 dum. I mean, could you imagine trying to go to sleep to that? And so there were a lot of times our kids would whine or complain and would be like, baby, this is just the season of life we're in right now. It's just part of it. We're going to deal with it. We're going to do it. We're going to get through it. And we did. I mentioned we host 65 events per year now. I may have to work 3 or 4 of those. It's been such a huge blessing to find the people that I've found to work as our team leaders at the venue. They are real life angels. And that was another thing that I went to God in prayer about, was this is one day that this couple has, and you cannot mess it up. So you have to be very particular about who you're putting in their way to work their event and who is taking care of them. They have to have hospitality skills, and to be just, this is for you. It's not anything about me. And so the ladies that I have found they go over and above, and the reviews that we get at the end of the events are just, it's only God. It's all God. And so I'm so thankful now that I don't have to be a part of the events as far as event day. I show up, I welcome them, I greet them, but then the rest of the evening we have team leaders that come in and take care of the process. Like I said early on, that was not the way it was. I was up all night making sure everything was perfect, and then having to smile the next morning and be present as well. I would sneak off to that room and sleep before an event, and then an hour before the event started, I would get myself up, get presentable, and walk downstairs and be at the event, work it. And so being apostolic, it's not in a environment that you truly want to be around 24/7 or really at all. And so there's been several people that have always asked, well, why did you think about this? Why did you do this? And it's nothing that we really thought of or dreamt of. It was really God leading, closing doors, opening doors, and bringing us to this phase of our life. And so he has carried us all along. I'm just thankful that I'm not having to be present anymore at the events as far as hands-on. I am behind the scenes. I give my tours. I don't allow anybody else to give our tours. I want to make sure that I'm meeting and greeting our couples, seeing who they are, learning about them, welcoming them to the stables, because it's a baby of mine. Like, I take pride and joy in it. And so We meet and greet with them. I follow along with them through the planning process. They have access to me throughout the entire planning process. And then event day comes and I pass them on to our talented team leaders, and they're able to carry them on for the rest of the evening.
I think in the building phase, that's something that a lot of times it's easy to start to want to give up on the dream is whenever you're in the building phase and you're doing it all. Like I remember those days and you're exhausted. Like you said, you also had 2 under 2. You have 4 children. There's 4 kids alone says enough, and you're trying to build all of this and do all these things. But at the same time, if you can just get through those building phases, if you can get through that first part now, like you said, you're pretty much hands off for everything except for whenever they do a full service wedding with you, you're a little more hands on with that. But other than that, you can hand them off to the team lead and they are able to do it.
Yes.
And so that's important is if you're in that building phase and you're doing it all right now, keep going.
Yes.
Because you'll eventually get to a place where you can start letting go of the reins a little bit.
Yes.
What do you hope your children learn from watching you pursue your dreams?
That it is okay to dream big, even when it's scary. I can remember being so scared in the very beginning, not knowing where this was going to lead, not knowing if it was going to work out. My greatest fear was probably just to fail. I didn't even want to post anything about it in the very beginning because I was like, what if it doesn't work out? To be completely honest, this wasn't my dream in the beginning. When Josh and I were dating, I'm going to take this back to the beginning. My dream was to work alongside my oncology doctor at Arkansas Children's Hospital as a pediatric nurse practitioner. I had enrolled in UAMS nursing school, and I had no intentions of getting married until after I graduated and started my career. Because of the broken home that I had grew up in, I was taught to always have a backup plan. This highly offended Josh. He couldn't fathom that I wouldn't trust him to take care of me, and we actually broke up over the issue. I remember Bishop calling me sometime after that and saying, Hannah, Josh is getting married. Are you going to be his wife or not? I was shattered. I knew I couldn't plan a wedding and finish nursing school, but I also knew that I couldn't ignore what my bishop was telling me. I knew Josh was the one for me. I just selfishly wanted everything on my timeline. We had originally planned to get married in July, but I postponed until September due to my school schedule. I ended up failing nursing school, regardless. And looking back, I believe God allowed that because He was closing a door in my life to lead me to something greater. At that time, I was working at Children's Hospital and began cleaning houses on the weekends to help pay our bills. Went back to my roots. Josh had his own tire shop at this time, and we were extremely slow. We were given the opportunity to move into a bigger shop in a much better location, and I remember how excited we were when we signed that 5-year lease. Just 3 days later, road construction in front of our building began, something that was not mentioned at closing and was never told to us. It blocked access to our building and was projected to last over 2 years. We were devastated. During that time, I would bring my paycheck home and give it to Josh so he could pay the guys at the shop because we weren't even making payroll. What I'm about to say is one of the biggest things that I hope my children always carry with them. Obedience is key. Even when you don't understand, you can't see the outcome, God will bless your obedience to His word, your pastor, or your spouse. Colossians 3:18 says, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as it is fitting in the Lord. I definitely had to lean on that scripture when Josh led us into what he called the program. You and Matt know about the programs. You think Dave Ramsey, but on steroids. Our biggest debt at the time was our home, and he had created a plan to cut out all unnecessary spending until it was paid off. One of the things we cut was eating out. I was just a few weeks away from having Ireland, and if anyone knows about pregnant mamas, we are hungry. So I was cleaning houses still at the time and coming home from work in the evenings. I hadn't cooked anything because I hadn't prepped. I hadn't had time. I would want to go through Taco Bell so bad. And there was one time I called Josh, I was faint at this point because I was just ravenous. And I called Josh and I was like, can I please get a taco from Taco Bell? It's like $1.38. And he's like, sure, just get one. And we cleaned out the freezer during that time. We made every recipe that you could think of with deer meat. Tacos, burgers, pasta, nachos, soup. By the end of it, I was so sick of deer meat. During that time, I can remember Josh turning 30, and I remember feeling stressed because I didn't think I could buy him anything. I found an old wallet with some gift cards that I was able to get him a few small presents. It was little moments like this that built grit early in on our marriage. Not once did I complain about what Josh had asked of me. We were a team. We were in this together. We've never had separate bank accounts. What's mine is his and what's his is mine. I feel like so many couples today are in competition with each other, trying to outdo one another. I've always believed in Josh's dreams and supported him, and in return, he has never let me down. I remember being completely terrified and almost paralyzed when it was time to give my first tour. If anyone knows me, I used to crawl under the pew when I was asked to testify in youth service. But Josh was my biggest cheerleader. He believed in me, and that encouragement gave me the confidence to do things that I never imagined that I could. I pray our children grow up carrying that same obedience, love, and respect into their own marriages, and that we've been the very best example for them.
I'll never forget the program. I felt so bad for Hannah. But it paid off.
It did.
In fact, when I told Matt, I said, Hannah's going to be with me on the podcast, he said, I hope she mentions how they paid their house off.
I can't remember the time frame, but we ended up paying it off. And that even kind of leads into this story. Like, if we had not been able to do that, we would not have been able to purchase the property that we live now on. And so it all tied into, it was just God's story from, man, when I put all the puzzle pieces together, it creates a beautiful picture. But it's the very beginning puzzle pieces that you cannot even fathom or imagine or figure out what's going on with them, but just keep going.
I remember he would send Matt the updates, like however much left, putting this amount on it today, however much left, And then one time also we had invited them over for a dinner with us. And I'm like, don't worry about bringing anything.
She didn't want any of our deer meat.
I'm like, I know. I said, I know she's like, no, please let me bring something. I'm like, no, let this be your free meal for the night. They would go to anything people asked them so they could get a free meal. Which Matt and Josh are still that way. If y'all need anybody to come over, just ask us. They're always down for a free meal. But at the time, it seemed like, oh man, this is hard. But like you said, it was worth it. And one thing I love that you said that we teach our kids, everything that you want is on the other side of hard.
It is. That comes easy.
That is not an easy lesson to learn. But it is the way that it is. We all want, now looking at them, you look at their home, you look at their venue, you look at the life that they get to live, and it looks, oh, this looks amazing. But it's on the other side of hard. There was a lot of hard things that went into this. It wasn't a silver spoon and given, or, the land wasn't given by an inheritance.
No, it was not.
Unfortunately.
Lots of deer meat.
Was given by deer meat and hard work. What role has your faith played in the way that you have approached your goals and your calling? Because this has been more than just goals. This is just, like you said, this wasn't even something that you dreamed of. It was something that God has dropped in your lap and something He's given you along the way.
Faith is the foundation of everything I do. From my very first tour, I made it a habit to walk through the bridal suite and lay my hands on the walls. Pray that God would either allow that couple to fall in love with us, or if they were not the right fit, to block them. Every decision, every step, every season, we put it in God's hands. You said this at BAM, and I loved it so much. God is your business partner. So why in the world would I not talk to Him about my concerns, my problems, or what I need? When the time finally came for us to hire help, I prayed that God would send the right people, I truly believe I have real life angels who make up our team today. I can still hear Sister Alice saying, "He cares. He truly cares." That is proven true time and time again. An incredible pillar of our church and a dear friend of my husband once said he made more deals lying under a pew praying than he ever did going out on his own and trying to find clients. That has always stuck with me. I like to start each day by physically placing my hands on my forehead and asking God to help me, to give me clarity, to lead me, and to direct me in His perfect will.
When we put our faith in Him and when we ask Him to lead us and guide us and direct our paths, we can trust that He's going to do that. And that's just the best part about living. It's just one of the side benefits of living for Him and putting our faith in Him, putting our trust in Him, is that He's going to lead us and He's going to guide us and He's going to direct us and He's going to open the doors that He has for us. And we can trust that He's doing that. That's just part of it. That's part of giving our lives to God, is that He's going to. So if you are in one of these stages of life where you're like, you know what, like, I don't know what else to do. I love that you said putting your hands physically on your forehead. There's something that all of us can do, is saying, you know what, God, like, this is yours. Like, anything that you have for me, that you want of me, that you're asking of me, I'm willing to do it. But I need you to help me and I need you to guide me. And that's just one of the side benefits of living for the Lord, is that He's going to do that. We are focusing on moms this month. And I have to ask, what kind of legacy are you hoping to leave for your babies?
Well, more than anything, I want to leave a legacy of faith and perseverance. Not just a building or a business, but values. As apostolics, I believe the devil often uses fear as a tool to cripple us, making us think that we're not capable. I remember having nightmares early on, feeling tormented by the idea that I could never do something like this because I was Pentecostal. I worried people wouldn't want to tour our venue once they found out who owned the stables. Now I realize that those were all lies from the enemy. As we approach 5 years in business, I can confidently say that because of who I am and the values I stand on, we have been abundantly blessed. We are set apart because we go the extra mile. We're honest. We treat others the way we want to be treated. Couples crave this because it's so rare. They can't find it anywhere else. So more than anything, I want my children to walk away with the boldness to know that they can do anything they set their minds to, so long as they stay humble and allow God to direct their steps.
So many times you hear now people saying, you know, we're set apart. You go to an interview or you're a business owner that shows up and you don't have tattoos all over your face. You know, like, you look normal. Your ears, lobes aren't hanging way down because there's big gauges. You got the same color hair. Like, now if you just look like a normal human being, you're set apart automatically.
Yes.
And then being honest. That's another value.
It is.
That is not always given in today's world. So those are things that we think are just normal life, and it sets you apart. And it creates an opportunity for God to be able to show who He is through us, which is something that you have been able to do through this venue and with this. And I absolutely love it. I love that you've been on here and that you've shared your story of hope and of going after your dreams of faith in God, because that's really, like you said, it's woven all through it. Have any of us got everything right 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But one of the things that you can go back on and we can know that God is in it and He's staying with us is whenever we recognize. If we can just recognize, our bishop says that often, if we can recognize that we need Him, and that when we don't get it right, we can say, God, we need your help. We need your forgiveness. And we get up and we keep going and we keep doing it. That's leaving a bigger legacy for our kids than anything else we could do.
Yeah.
It's just recognizing that we need the Lord, that we need His help. When we don't get it right, that He's going to come through for us still. What a merciful and a good God He is. And you've allowed your story to weave that all through. And I appreciate your honesty and that your willingness to come on the podcast and share. But before we end this, what is one last thing that you would want to leave with all of us in the Unashamedly You community today?
If God planted a dream in your mind, it's worth the work. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to take the next faithful step. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not." You may have to miss out on some things. Everything in life is a trade-off. But God blesses effort, and what you're sacrificing now is tied to a harvest that you just can't see yet.
So thankful that He keeps His promises and that there is a harvest. It's a lot of sowing seeds and a lot of hard work. I love that God gives us hope and He gives us promises that sometimes we tie it to one single thing.
Yeah.
We'll tie seeds to only souls. And I think that's not all it's tied to. Everything in life, if we're willing to sow the seeds, some may fall on stony ground. There may be some, you can turn that around and say some business deals may fall on stony ground. Some things may fall on good soil. But if you'll sow seeds, if you'll get out there, if you'll plant, there has to be a harvest.
Yes.
Our bishop says even the atheists believe, because they'll go out there and plant corn and they expect corn every time.
Absolutely.
You don't expect watermelons if you plant corn.
Nope.
You're going to be real disappointed, or maybe real happy if you plant corn and get a watermelon. But whatsoever we plant, we shall reap. There's going to be a harvest. And when you sow faithfulness, you're going to reap it. And whenever you sow hard work, you're going to get to reap those benefits. So thank you so much, Hannah, for being on the podcast, sharing a little bit of how the stables got started and how you've kept your faith and you've been faithful and that God has showed up every single time. Thank you again for being on the podcast. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking time to be on with us today.
Well, thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you for listening to another episode on the Unashamedly You podcast. This podcast would be nothing without all of you incredible listeners. Thank you for being here week after week. Go be unashamedly you.